More cameras than people. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna,
One day, Advaita-Acharya told all the devotees, today we will not chant the name of Krishna. Today we will chant the name of Gauranga. So everyone thought it was a great idea. And then Advaita-acharya said, but I will not sing because my voice is very loud, and when I sing, everyone gets afraid. So I will only dance. Then the devotees also became a little bit afraid because they knew that Lord Chaitanya might not like it. And then, but anyway, they started. Then in the middle of it all, Advaita-acharya couldn't contain himself anymore. And he spontaneously began to glorify Lord Chaitanya. Later when Lord Chaitanya heard about it, of course he didn't like it. Hare Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Louder, Lord sing. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Chitranga Nityananda Shri Advaita Gita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita.
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare That's what happens with glasses now. When Lord Chaitanya met Advaita-Acharya, he said, Acharya, where have you just come from? Advaita-Acharya said, I just went to the temple of Lord Jagannath and I took darshan. And then I came here. And Lord Chaitanya said, no. What did you do after the darshan? So after darshan, I came here. Lord Chaitanya said, no. What did you do after the darshan? He said, then I circumambulated the deity. Ah, Lord Chaitanya said, then I have defeated you. He said, yeah, how you have defeated me? Huh? How? He said, no, I have defeated you. How you have defeated me? Lord Chaitanya said, when I go and take darshan of Lord Jagannath, at all times, my eyes are on the Lord. But you go around the Lord and turn your back to the Lord. In this way, I have defeated you. So, in this way, Lord Chaitanya showed that although the scriptures are saying that we should circumambulate the deity, if you walk around the block of the temple, at least 4 times. For some reason it's 4 times. Don't ask me why, but that's what they do. Not 3. You'd think 3, but no. Maybe the 4 is 1 extra, just out of enthusiasm. 3 is the regulative principles and then 4 is the extra. I'm not sure why 4. But anyway, around 4 times. If you go 4 times around the block, that counts as circumambulating the deity. So that is very, very good, recommended as one of the 64 limbs, which is developing bhakti in the nectar of devotion. But yet, Lord Chaitanya defeated it with pure love, with eagerness, and showed that real bhakti goes beyond beyond regulative principle, goes simply to the level of pure attachment, and that is where it should go. And when it was time for the anusara, the time that the Lord was again getting
getting a fresh appearance. At that time, the Lord was not visible for a period of 2 weeks. Then, when Lord Chaitanya couldn't bear it, he couldn't stay in Puri. He couldn't stay. He left. He just went to the temple of Sakshi Gopal. And when he came back, although the offering of Lord Jagannath was going on, they went straight in. They didn't stay outside. Lord Chaitanya and his associates just went in and just witnessed the whole offering because of eagerness. So this eagerness is what is the point. That is. And what is this eagerness? It is eagerness to serve. That is the eagerness. Yes, eagerness to see Krishna, eagerness to hear about Krishna, eagerness to taste Krishna Prasad, eagerness to dance, to chant, eagerness. But especially eagerness to serve. When we're chanting for Krishna, we can remember for a moment how Srila Prabhupada would say that in London, Narada Muni would be present. And Lord Brahma, he said, they all come to the Kirtan. Okay. So that Prabhupada had a small Vyasa-san made. It's still there. Just in case. Just in case somebody comes in the Kirtan. Prabhupada also explains in the 9th chapter of the Adi Lila, he explains that whenever there is the Sunday feast and there is Kirtan, he says the Sunday love feast, and there is Kirtan, Krishna Katha and Krishna Prasad, then Lord Chaitanya will be personally present. So we have no idea about all the dimensions of Krishna consciousness. We see one dimension of Krishna consciousness, but there are unlimited dimensions to Krishna consciousness beyond what we see. We didn't see Narada Muni, did we? Maybe some saw. Did anyone see? So, but great Vaishnavas sometimes see, even when Lord Chaitanya was present, and there was the festival, there were many occasions, different festivals, when different devotees were seeing different things. Like, it is described that before Ratha Yatra, when Lord Chaitanya came back from South India, there were these Beda Sankirtan festivals. Because they didn't have big sound systems, they would break up the parties, smaller parties, and that would lead and sing. And it is said, and Lord Chaitanya, some saw that he was dancing in one party, but others saw that he was dancing in all the parties. In the same way, when Lord Chaitanya was with that chip rice festival, some people saw that everyone was having 2 pots of chip rice, one with milk and one with yogurt and many other things. But some people saw also that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda was there, and that they would take a little bit of the chip rice from every pot and put it in each other's mouth. Imagine that. You're sitting there with your pots and you're not seeing it. And it's happening. I mean, Lord Chaitanya is sort of feeding Nityananda. And you're just sitting with the pot and looking at, well, what's in the chip rice this year, you know? Yeah. Saying our mundane minds are looking, well, last year they had really exciting things in the chip rice. No. And this year it's not as exciting as last year. We go from Mayapur. We go every year That is a nice time in Mayapur because there are 3 festivals. There is Panihati, and then Snanyatra, and then Rathayatra. And all 3, of course, in Rathayatra is then in Calcutta. So that's a lot of fun. Because the Panihati festival, it's like this. Panihati is on the Ganga, but it's different than Mayapur because there are trees. There are quite some trees there. And there's a big banyan tree, and Lord Nityananda sat under that tree, and there's a platform under the tree. Still sit under that tree. So of course that's already pretty good. And then there's a central area, and there is a little canal connecting to the Ganga in like an arch shape. So, and there are just very small pedestrian bridges over that. So the area where around the tree, no cars, no traffic, only pedestrian zone. And nice people are there. And everyone is then making chip rice. And whether it's some old Bengali widow sitting there with her little pot of chip rice, or whether it's like some different ashrams that are all there, everybody and his guru are there, and they are making chip rice. And we of course make international chip rice because we are the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So our chip rice is very popular because whole gulab jamuns go inside, and cashews and mangoes. It's the Hare Krishna movement, right? So it's like our chip rice is definitely, but everybody's chip rice is something special, you know. I mean, some of these Bengali ladies with their little pots, you know, but they know how to spice it, you know what I mean? It's like little camphor and little nutmeg and sort of like, and sweets at the same time. Interesting. So everyone is tasting everyone's chip rice. It's very ecstatic. But who knows whether Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda come every year to put their hands in the pots and feed each other. We don't see, we look at our pots. We look at our everyday spiritual life. We look at ISKCON today. We look at like, well, it's not the way it used to be. You know, and all these kind of songs we sing. And we look, yeah, you know, you think, once upon a time, there used to be Melbourne breakfasts, you know. Of course, there are still Melbourne breakfasts, I assume, but everything was in the Melbourne breakfast. I mean, first of all, there was kidri. Exciting, isn't it? With tomato chutney and papadums or yogurt, per choice. Then there was pasta, you know, with tomatoes. Then there was toast and jam and butter, of course. What else was there? There was, of course, the offering, the last offering from the night before. That was also there. That was still good. And there were, all the milk sweets were there. And what else was there? Yeah, that's still there. Even now there was salad. Yeah, but that's boring. Yeah, sometimes also cauliflower pakoras and things like this. Yeah. And then everyone, it was the days of Sankirtan. All the devotees would go in the morning and get their paraphernalia and go on Sankirtan, get in the car and drive to Albert Park and go to sleep for 2 hours. That was the daily routine. It's like, you drive to Albert Park and you see all the other Sankirtan cars already parked there. Everybody was there, you know, somehow. Just a little nap because you just couldn't drive. It wasn't safe to drive, Anyway. So that was one dimension. But there are so many dimensions. People cannot see. People cannot see the transcendental dimensions. We can see. They think we're just vegetarian. That's about it. Once, when I was still a Grihasta, I was going for a journey to Italy for, just a visit. And I went to Rome, cheap ticket, was really good. So take the missus for a vacation and have some money left, One of those, right? Do a good deed and, and good for the pocket. So it seemed like a good strategy. And then, so the airport was rather far from the address that we had in the BTG. There was no internet, so all we had was a Back to Godhead magazine. Going for the temple, we get there after a long ride, and the taxi says, "Oh, it's really far, I don't know if I can go there, this is so far, so far." I said, "No problem, I'm paying, I am paying." So we went, and we got to the temple, and the temple was closed. A big sign, temple closed. Jeez, and then, but the taxi driver, he was getting more of a fit than we had, It's closed, but it's not closed, How can it be closed? We had to calm him down. I was paying. No, serious. I had to calm him down. I was paying, and he said, okay, don't worry, it's okay, I have another address. Okay, another address. Okay, we're looking at that. A restaurant, So we just go to the restaurant. Okay, no problem, no problem. Everything is good. So, okay, we're driving, we come to the restaurant. The restaurant was also closed, The taxi driver, he was just shaking his head, like, and then, what is wrong with you, You don't know where you're going, Yeah, he took the money and shaking his head and leaving us there. And then we were there, and by then we were hungry, and there was nothing to eat, nothing. Oh God, So finally, we saw one restaurant, and they had fruits in the window as a decoration, And this was the only vegetarian thing in the whole place. So I said, "Look, I want those fruits." They said, No, you cannot have those fruits. They're only for decoration. I said, "Look, we are vegetarians, we are starving. There's a crisis here. I'm buying your fruits. Money for the fruits." So, by then the bill was quite up, but the wife needed to eat, so fruits, done. Me too, done. Anyway, then a hotel, So, okay, stayed in this hotel. And that was it, And we're just there in Rome, totally fried. I was fried because of the bills. And then we're walking in the street, and suddenly, and we're having bead bags, Karmic clothes with the bead bags. So suddenly someone comes and says, "Oh, Haribo." He said, "Haribo? Oh." He says, "Yes. Oh, yes. Yes, I'm also initiated. Come. Yes. My father has a hotel here nearby, and he took us to that hotel. And then my former wife says, "Is there some prasad?" He says, "Yes, no problem." And he comes, he brings all this prasad, and etc. That's like huge plates and so many things. Then, everything became ecstatic again, right? Because it was prasadam, it was all transcendental. And for a day, for like 24 hours, things were just mundane. And it was just, it was so austere. But when that spiritual dimension came back in, everything became it changed. So this is a fact. I also remember, once, now that I'm remembering travel story, we went also to Bangkok, and it was terrible because there was nothing. There was no temple, and I was married. I was with my good wife, and I'm coming on the airport, and one guy says, "Hey, you want go, girl?" And I'm going, "I'm with my wife." He said, "You want go, boy?" I go like, God, get out of here, And then we check into a hotel, and a girl comes on the door, if I need some room service. No, don't need room service, Boom. Close the door. It was super intense, really. But we had one address of someone, some Indian man who lived there. We went there. So the address was a shop. And we came in the shop, and we're in karmic clothes, and we're walking in. And then we say to him, Hare Krishna. He looks at us and he says, "Oh, just wait." Like Indians can say, there's nothing, not hello, nothing. Just wait. What is this? Just wait. Right? And he goes behind his counter, and then suddenly he pulls a string, and at the back there's a shelf, and there are deities on there, and then the Govindam tape starts playing. Govindam, when we stand in the middle of the show. Govindam, Hare Krishna, Dhamma. It was just totally transcendental. Really. It had nothing to do with the material world, It was like absolutely something else. So yes, there is that whole transcendental dimension in this world. And that transcendental dimension is the beginning of our spiritual life. And of course, we appreciate the deities. Wow, Govindam, wow, Prasadam, so many things. But then there are dimensions beyond the dimensions that we don't see. So many dimensions. And as it is stated throughout the scripture, that different birds fly on different levels in the sky of spiritual realization. And thus gradually we rise higher and higher and higher. And the same things that we did before get a new dimension again and again. This never ends. And therefore it's not that, well, what's new? We're doing the same old thing. Been doing it now for many years. Is there anything new? Anything new? What are we going to do? Kirtan. Anything new? What are we going to have? Prasadam. Anything new? Right? A bit of a talk. Anything new? Yeah. Yes. It's always new. It's always new. Ever fresh. And, as the eagerness is growing, different doors will open. Of course, I don't know how long we're going with this, because it's already late. Huh? Do we have to be out of here by a certain time? 9 o'clock? Half past 10. Oh, we got ages. Huh? Oceans of time. 10:30. Anyway. But so, somehow or other, the eagerness for Krishna consciousness will grow. But even when we maintain material attachments, in the 10th offense, in the chanting of the holy name, it says that the 10th offense in the matter of chanting the holy name is to maintain material attachments. And what it means is that when you feed your material attachments, they become strong, undoubtedly. But even then, even if you maintain material attachment, still attachment to Krishna will also develop. The only thing that will happen then, you'll have attachment to both at the same time. So then you have your material attachment and attachment to Krishna. That's what you'll have. Both. It's a little complicated. Then one day we have to make the choice. One day we're going to make a choice, whatever it's going to be. But so it's not recommended. But the mercy of the holy name is so great that anyway we develop attachment. It's obvious that when I started in Krishna consciousness, that I was more attached to the music than to the holy name. I mean, you can guess that. But now, music without holy name, no more fun. It's like, there's no holy name. It's dry. Dry. Still a little music. Why not? But that is more for the ras, right? After all, as far as I'm concerned, a harmonium is not really an instrument. I'm sorry, harmonium. It's firewood. No, it's like wobbly keys and sticky notes and retarded response. You press a key, and the sound comes a fraction of a second later. Oh, gosh. It's like horrific. What to do? But it doesn't matter so much. It's not that. It's ultimately the holy name and a mood that we create. Sometimes wild, sometimes peaceful. Depends who's singing. I don't understand how it's possible that Madhava came from Mauritius. Because they're all wild in Mauritius. I was just in Mauritius, right? And the whole island is totally wild. I can't keep them on the ground, you know. They're dancing on the roof, they're dancing on the beach, really, there's like, and they all drum like mad, you know. Even the ones we have here, isn't it? And they all like to do it, and so I don't know what to make of it, you know, of these Mauritians. The Martians, but and somehow or other, Madhava comes out of Mauritius. It's interesting. It's a phenomenon. Very deep and peaceful. Totally like deep in concentration. Nothing can break it. I was in Italy and the microphone stopped. Now if that happens with me, I get annoyed, right? You know, I just look at what's going on with this thing. Yeah. Something, you know. But no, nothing like that. He didn't even open his eyes. He was singing with eyes closed. He didn't even open his eyes. The mic comes out just like he was carved out of stone, sitting with the harmonium on his lap, as he does. And unbroken concentration. That is very good, very nice. So whatever it is, but it's about just taking shelter, taking shelter of Krishna. So chanting the holy name is very interesting, because the chanting of the holy name is, first of all, we are making an offering to Krishna. We are chanting and we're offering this name to Krishna for his pleasure. And then, as we are doing that, then it changes, because Krishna is non-different from the name. Abhinatvam nami namino. And because Krishna is non-different from the name, he is giving darshan. You see? So as we're making an offering, we're getting darshan at the same time. That's the amazing thing about the chanting of the holy name. Is that somewhere we're doing it, we're making the offering, and we are like, trying to chant nicely and so on, make a nice offering. And next moment, boom, there Krishna is giving us darshan. So these two dynamics are there in the chanting. And that is quite something. Our offering, and we're trying to sing for Krishna's pleasure. Trying to offer him a, anyway, trying to offer him our full attention, and trying to offer him something beautiful, something fun. And then he gives darshan, and something happens to us. Then, because it touches us, it does something transcendental with us. Anyway, so that's a point of reflection I wanted to bring out, in the midst of these stories that I'm telling, to illustrate the point of the story that I took from the Chaitanya Bhagavat about Lord Chaitanya defeating Advaita-Acharya by going to another dimension. So there's many dimensions to come. So it's not only what we are experiencing now. There's still many, many dimensions to come in Krishna consciousness. Well, any questions, any discussion, anything? Otherwise, Swami is going to slip out the door.
Often, as youngsters, we tend to develop more of inclination towards Kirtan than Japa. How do you overcome that? Because, attending some programs which means philosophy, or, chanting your rounds regularly makes it difficult. But when it comes to Kirtan, there's always more enthusiasm.
Sadhbhuj is also going to answer the question, because he's getting bored. He's a qualified preacher, and he has preached all over the world. He's done so many programs, and he's sitting here all the time, and he begins to look bored. I know him well. He'll give a good answer, I'm sure. Well, I think that it's when you're doing Kirtan, you can just think that I'm getting really advanced, I'm approaching Bhava. Whenever I chant, tears are coming to my eyes, my hairs are standing on end, I'm getting advanced. When you're chanting japa, you realize I'm a complete neophyte. So one is like the warm shower and the other one's like the cold shower. You need both, for good health. One is more sobering, right? The chanting of the holy name through japa can be more austere. It's more sobering. It confronts us with our lack of Krishna consciousness. So, it's all different ways of associating with the holy name. And in all these ways we are getting purified. So we should see it like that. And just go through the motions, like Hanuman Prasad Maharaj is here, and he's always, whenever he walks around, he's always chanting some name, some holy name. He's into that. He's walking in the corridor, and he's like just to himself, sort of chanting something, Govinda, Govinda, or I don't know what he chants, or Krishna, Krishna, anything. But putting in that extra holy name all the time. When he's waiting for the deity, just chanting. So some eagerness has come to get the mercy. See, it's not the holy name, just the holy name. It's what's behind the holy name. It's like, here's the name, but what is it? We see only the name, Hare Krishna, in a box, holy name, or on a t-shirt. Come. Take a deep breath. Come on. Put your chest up. So all we see is the holy name on a t-shirt. Okay? Just the words. But, now put a peacock feather on that name. You see the peacock feather? Look. Now, the name's got a peacock feather. Lotus eyes as well, you see? Yeah. You see the lotus eyes. Yellow dhoti, yes. Threefold bended form. Oh, now you're seeing pastimes as well. So it is first Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. Right? We see the name. Then we see the qualities. What's that? Then we see the form, the full form of Krishna, right? Look. You see? And finally we see Krishna's pastimes also, etc. Oh, that was a demon. Oh, watch out. He got him though, he got him. Thank you. Okay, now it's Sadhbuchi's turn, huh?
Yeah, what to say? When I first joined, I also thought, why this is so strange to always say the same thing and mumble. And then I saw the devotees in the temple, and it was not convincing to me, what was going on in the morning. Some fell asleep, some were like completely off and whatever. So I thought, this is the process, really? I have to do this? Really? And okay, I did 4 rounds just for the sake of pacifying some people, but but it was not really like happening, no? And then we went to a festival for like 2 weeks, and we chanted every day. We had Kirtan for 6 hours or something, no, whole night. And that's where I started to chant 16 rounds, because I started to get into it. So I think it's maybe normal for some that in the beginning it's just Kirtan, and then you start to get into Kirtan more. And you can have Kirtan every night. I mean, no, this is some other of my friends, they come together every night and make music together, so why not? And that's nice. And then the japa, it's coming naturally, I think. And for me, after some time I realized if you don't chant in the morning, it's like everything goes like more difficult. No, it's not in the flow. It's more like all things takes more energy and more complicated. So yeah, chanting in the morning starts to be helpful. And yeah, I don't know, it doesn't have to be religiously performed sitting, no, like in the asana and kill yourself while chanting. I like to go on japa walk in nature and go on a walk with Krishna. It's nice, like this. Can find a way how it's like easy to absorb oneself, to concentrate, like this.
Okay, well, questions, otherwise Swami slips out of the door, you know. I give you 1, I give you 2, I give you 3. Okay, it's Gora Sriman.
Maharaj, you were talking about eagerness in terms of seeing Krishna and everything. You talked about eagerness of serving. I wanted to know how to develop that one.
Eagerness to serve. Well, you've never felt like this is my service and someone takes away your service? You never felt possessive about devotional service? Huh? He used to drive me around in Mauritius. This time I had so many drivers, you know. They were like driving me all over the place in nice cars too. Nice people. Because you didn't come, what to do? But the next time you come. So we do a service. Maybe we don't like all the service in the beginning. Because it is said that in the beginning we like the service and later we begin to like Krishna. So in the beginning I like this service but I don't like that service. But even if we're in the beginning stage and we like a particular type of service, after a while we become attached to that service and we really become possessive about it. It's my service. You can't do that. It's mine. Isn't it? So attachment automatically develops. That attachment is the beginning of eagerness. And that gets stronger. You know, if you do it for a long time, then it really becomes your service. Of course, then if you're more advanced, then you just serve Krishna. Just like in Vrindavan, we had Bhuvaneshwar Prabhu, right? Also known as Boo. Anyway, and and he is now the cook of the deities, right? Well, I'm just telling the truth, you know, but yeah. But, you know, in the past, he was the Sankirtan leader in Vrindavan. And then he would sit, and there was a room filled with books, the storeroom where all the books were. And then in there, he had a seat from a Sankirtan bus. And that was his Vyasa-san. And he would sit on that and then give lectures to the Sankirtan devotees. And they would all sit at his feet. So, you know, that was a nice service, right? It's fun, you know, when you have a Vyasa-san like that. And, but then the deity cook, Vibhu Chaitanya, who had been cooking for everything for so many years, he cooked all the offerings in Vrindavan, right? And practically since the opening. And he he became very old and he couldn't do it anymore. And sometimes Bhuvaneshwar would cook. So I one time as president, I went there and asked him, I said, look, can you just do it full time? Can you take over the cooking? And he didn't hesitate at all. He said, because he is like that, he just is very sober, So he said, all right. And that was it, And then he went into the kitchen and he never looked back, he never showed such like, my Sankirtan Vyasa-san, I miss it so much, it used to be so much fun. Nothing like that, completely. So I could see that he was not just attached to the service, but that he was attached to Krishna. And therefore he could just, from one day to the next, boom, change his service like that. And in a way take on a big responsibility. And he's still cooking for the deities. He was recently here to get a new visa, right? You saw him all. And he's back in the kitchen now.
What was the question again?
Eagerness to serve.
Eagerness. Yeah. Good question. If you find out, let me know. It's a good question. If you find out, let me know. It's the challenge is to find a service which really fits to us, no? Which is our calling, and then automatically the eagerness is coming. And then, okay, there's other services also which just have to be done, no? Like cleaning the dishes and stuff like this, pots. It's also good. I remember we had after the Sunday feast, we had always a party. We put on loud music in the kitchen and then cleaned up the whole thing. And it was actually the most ecstatic part of the whole Sunday feast. Like this. And I think also what is important is to have friends, to have nice relationships with devotees and do something together. It's also very helpful, I guess.
And if there are no more questions, we slip out of the door. We're going to slip out of the door anyway. But I'll take one more question if there is. Just anything. It's easy to ask questions. It's not like, that you have to sort of twist your brain. You just ask a question about anything. It's like, if you don't know any question to ask, you can always ask the same old, how do you become humble? Or something like that, Yeah. Okay, it's two. We do two then.
Maharaj, often sometimes we say we get deviated, by Krishna consciousness. So how do we prevent that, prevent from getting deviated? As youngsters, sometimes it's hard to balance. So how do we not deviate and make it steady and balanced?
Mm-hmm. I think we have this dream, right? That we're going to walk straight on the path, and then at one point we'll be pure devotees one day at the end, and we'll grow wings and fly to the spiritual world or something like that, or Vaikuntha plane comes to pick us up, like in a movie, and our mind sort of creates this movie of called My Spiritual Life. And we are in there and we have an idea of how it's going to go. But reality is not as beautiful as the movie that we have in our mind. Reality is that we meet ourselves and we are not always strong. Sometimes we are weak. And And we can deviate a bit, and sometimes even quite a bit, or sometimes a lot. I mean, sometimes even fall down, sometimes just go away, sometimes, so many things can happen. But Krishna knows that. The spiritual master also knows that. But somehow or other Krishna stays. So the path is more a zigzag, path, sort of like with many curves and sometimes big curves. But still Krishna stays. And in this way we gradually mature. And then we realize that all these detours that we're making are not worth it. And we become more serious to go more straight. But so it is really in the beginning, sort of here, there, gradually we manage to go in a more straight line towards Krishna.
One thing is, often we see that if we deviate on like materially, this is taken very much serious. But the heavy deviation is actually philosophically, if we start to make a philosophy out of our deviation. So this is really, really a problem. And this material deviations, some fall downs or so, I think it's good if we, as devotees, cultivate these qualities of tolerance and compassion and care. And especially those who have difficult time, to just, be there for them and help them. And therefore, again, it's an important point to have good friendships. And to understand, to try to understand why, what's the reason, what's behind. And for ourselves and also for those who are in difficult times. And I think this is really like when we start to be devotees and when we start to be real like community or family, I guess.
See, he's giving good answers.
I remember in the initiation ceremony, I don't know, Prasad Maharaj was saying that Guru is at the feet of Krishna always. But for us, what does it take to be at the feet of Guru?
Guru is always at the feet of Krishna because I was saying that the word Guru, etymological meaning of the word Guru is heavy. And heavy means you cannot move him from the feet of Krishna. Therefore he's always at the feet of Krishna. So if you turn to the spiritual master, you automatically also turn to Krishna. And what can we do to be always at the feet of the spiritual master? Yeah, it's like Kunti Devi is speaking about sincerity, right? And she's saying, what is it? She's saying you have to be akinchana gocharam. You have to be materially exhausted. If you're still into some sort of position, or attached to beauty, attached to learning, then we cannot really be sincere. So in the beginning, our sincerity is limited because we're compromised. So over time, we become purified and we just begin to realize, I really should do more to repay this mercy that I have received. That's why we have all these kind of things like Vyasa Pujas and, the other day, someone wrote me a letter and said, sannyasis, it's just lust in saffron. A poet, you know. And said and then these big Vyasa pujas and all that, right? And I wrote him back. I said, yeah, you know, even whatever lust might be there in saffron, right? At least it's in saffron, you know. It's a good place for it to be, you know. It's kind of safe, right? Safe place to deposit the lust. Better there than anywhere else. And Krishna gradually takes it away. Right? That was answer number 1. Answer number 2 was, all these Vyasa pujas, yes, I mean, that's for purification. Right? Because it's a ritual, undoubtedly, but everyone gets purified in that, because everyone makes a commitment. So we have a system, right, of worshipping the spiritual master. Right? It says one should bow down at least 3 times a day to the spiritual master. And that's part of placing ourselves at the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So it's not just by some mental adjustment. Now I will be at the lotus feet of the spiritual master. It doesn't work that way. It's also by a culture. Maybe just at least an external culture of behavior that keeps us recommitting worship and making some sacrifice for the spiritual master. Then over time, our sincerity grows deeper, and then we can make a bigger commitment. It's like, it takes time, you cannot just. It says in the beginning we serve more out of duty. Then later, over time, we might serve out of friendship and out of love. But in the beginning, it's more, okay, I have to surrender to a spiritual master. I find one that is that's not so bad. And then I'll surrender to that one. Right? It's like neti, not this one. How to choose a spiritual master? Not this one, not that one. That's for sure, right? That one, well, I doubt it. That one, and then in the end you have a few left, you know. So, okay, these might be possible. No? I sound really bad, huh? Well, and maybe we also feel that there's something good and something inspiring, and maybe also have a positive reason for choosing a spiritual master. That may be. But still, we have to grow deeper and deeper in a relationship to actually serve out of love. Right? When we serve out of love, then we're really fixed at those feet. Love is the strongest bond, nothing else. Duty is not such a strong bond. Love is strong. So over time, love will grow. You know, because when we feel the spiritual master did something for me, then, and I did something for him, then that love will grow. Okay, let's see what Sadhguru says.
How to stay close to the lotus. How to keep close to the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Prabhupada once, there was one devotee who said, I want to stay at your lotus feet, and he said, this will be very difficult because I'm always walking. I think it's important to really make the spiritual master a central person in our life, to really understand his mood and his likings, and just make him a very important person in our life, who we orient our decisions on, who we, it's like just normally, ideally, we see him as a representative of Krishna. No? Krishna is speaking through the spiritual master, so whatever Krishna wants to tell us, he's using the master, and then should be the central, central person in our life. No? And then if this is so, then automatically you're very closely connected and take shelter. If you understand it through this, you can connect to Krishna. It's difficult to connect to Krishna directly, no? It's like, have to be quite advanced. Krishna likes we go through the whole parampara, no? That's his system. And he doesn't like that we jump over this, not looking. So, yeah, that's how, just the process. And if we understand this and meditate about it, then it's more easy. And then it's of course it's a personal relationship, no? It's like adjustment. It's like when you're in a relationship with a partner. It's like you learn to connect with the other person and adjust and learn to know each other and build up a real deep relationship as friendship, and this is necessary, I think.
Yeah, like I said, duty, friendship, and then love. Yeah. So like that it grows. Okay, Prabhuji.
Just have one question.
I told you though that I was going to go, and then I would take one more, and then I took one extra, and we want to squeeze one more in, but it's like going to be a terrible morning. So what's your question?
I just want to ask you, like, while chanting, is it compulsory, like, to chant it loud, or can we chant
Lord Chaitanya said loud.
Huh?
Loud.
No.
Lord Chaitanya, Jiva Goswami, say loud. Prabhupada repeated it, loud. Prabhupada said, attentive chanting means to hear oneself chanting. So there's no doubt about it. So in the mind, that's for very, very advanced devotees. If we chant in the mind, then we go very quickly. It's configuration. So I'll take your leave, if you have one. Now we'll meet again. Yeah. I think tomorrow morning I give class also. Sure. See you tomorrow.